I play a guy named Michael Bryce who suffers from extraordinary hubris. He's an executive protection agent, a self-proclaimed AAA rated executive protection agent who early in the movie loses a client, and this sort of sends him down a kind of shame spiral, and sort of his life kind of unravels. This sort of superficial existence that he had was all sort of lost. And when we find him, still close to the beginning of the film, he's actually sort of a much more lower rent executive protection agent. But he still is the best in the business. He's just taken a bit of a fall from grace. And he is asked by a former flame of his, a woman that he used to be in love with, perhaps still is, named Amelia, who works for Interpol, that she needs his services immediately. And she's not really asking him for his services, she's telling him. So he complies, shows up, and he finds that his charge is in fact a hitman that he has had a number of encounters with in the past. So in a nutshell, my job is to protect a man who's spent the better part of a decade trying to kill me. When I first read the script, it's every movie's a love story, no matter what it is. Finding Nemo is a love story. They're all love stories, and I loved the love story between Bryce, my character, and Sam Jackson's character of Kincaid. It's these two guys couldn't be more polarized when we meet them, and then as we move through the film, they start to kind of acquire a sort of a begrudging love and respect for each other, and it is a love story. To me, it's the A story of the film. It's a love story wrapped in this incredible, crazy, zany action set piece, and I love that stuff. I love it when these guys, we get to have a lot of moments where I feel like Sam and I just get to play, and that's important for me. Sam's very good at improvisation, and he can kind of play ball with the best of them, and that's my background as well. So we just get out there and have a little bit of fun together. Bryce is a guy who's got a great deal of hubris, and he's arrogant, and he's prideful, and I think Kincaid, Sam's character, sort of pushes those buttons a lot and loves to push those buttons. He's kind of got Bryce's number, whether Bryce would like to admit that or not. And that's, therein lies the therapy between these two guys. They're, in a weird way, Kincaid is kind of making my character grow and grow up at the same time. And he does this by pushing buttons in many, many different ways, in the unique way that only Sam Jackson can. And there's some great moments in the movie where Sam is just kind of going off about love. To him, love is everything. The reason he got caught, being the expert assassin that he is, he got caught by Interpol is for love. They had actually arrested his wife. So he basically turned himself in or was busted by them as a result of that. So he's in love with Sonia, who's played by the indisputable Selma Hayek, who's just incredible in everything she does, and a good friend of mine as well. So I was so happy to see her on the set. And then I also have a love story as well with Elodie Young, who plays Amelia, who plays the Interpol agent who puts me on this case of having to protect Kincaid. So there's a bit of a love story there. But Kincaid and Sonia, Selma Hayek's character, their love story is constant throughout. She's a firecracker, but they love each other, and we know it. For myself and Amelia, we have a long way to go still to sort of bridge the gap. Early on, when I read the script, the first thing I said to my agents and people was, can we get Sam Jackson? Because I'd done an animated film with him years ago called Turbo, and they paired us together in the junkets, and we had great chemistry. And I remember making a kind of a mental bookmark at that moment. I was thinking, if I ever find a sort of a two-hander movie, this is a good guy to do it with. So, and it proves that, at least in my opinion, we were right. We have a good thing going. It's nice. I do like working stunts, and I do like Greg Powell, although fuck Greg Powell, because half of the broken bones in my body are from Greg Powell over the years. I've done a few films with either Greg Powell or his brother Gary Powell, and all of which I always find myself taking at least one trip to the hospital. So, and that's not because they're not safe. They're very, very safe. I shouldn't sell them down the river like that. But with those guys, you want to impress them. You want to kind of go as hard as you possibly can. And sometimes I push myself a little bit too hard, and I forget that I'm, 39 years old. I'm not 22 years old anymore, and cement hurts. It used to be hilarious falling on cement. Now it's just a fucking awful situation. To speak more to Patrick's character, wisdom, and style as a director, I'll say that he's been magnificent. I mean, just a perfect sensibility for a movie like this. We've always been kind of aiming for this like slightly heightened reality, and it's a really specific and tricky tone. And if the director doesn't understand that tricky tone, then you're dead. And Patrick is not only understands that tone, but he is the leader of that tone. He is the guy that is pushing us forward each and every day. So he's a partner. I love having a partner like Patrick. He's amazing. This is my first time to Sofia, Bulgaria, and I can say that I'm not disappointed at all. It's just stunning. I mean, I think anytime you visit a new town, you have a certain element of nerves going into it, and I think most cities are defined not by their architecture or their culture so much as their people. And while Bulgaria has all this beautiful architecture and culture, it also just has magnificent people. I mean, I've been here with my wife and my daughter, and we've just had such a lovely time. Everyone's so welcoming, and the infrastructure that they have for film it's incredible. It's on par with anything you'd find in Los Angeles or New York. So I can't say enough good things about Bulgaria. It's beautiful. There's sort of a heightened tone to this film, and I think an audience is really going to be excited to see that we embrace that tone in a wonderful way. It's you can have these incredible action sequences. They're not necessarily laden with this kind of depressing emotional downward spiral. They're all kind of uplifting and fun, and each set piece is very kind of unique, and each one has a very distinct beginning, middle, and end. And I think audiences are going to really find that it's one of those movies that zips past. That you just, once it's over, you're like, wait, I want 30 minutes more. What I want to see these guys together more. So, we take them on a real adventure. I mean, for me, some of the films that inspired me looking at this script was In Bruges. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, ironically, is an inspiration for this movie, despite the fact that if you see the film, you may say there's nothing remotely related to Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. But so I think it's my kind of movie. It's like if you're lucky enough to work in this industry for as long as I have. Usually I sort of count my blessings when I'm working on a film that I would like to see, and that's always a good thing. So,
like a fun jaunt, sort of a road movie with chaos, and a good sense of humor between the two characters. I think he's been attached to the film for a pretty good while, and I guess when they thought of me and the idea popped up, it sounded like a good idea to me. I enjoy watching Ryan. I've known him on a personal level, and I like him. So I figured we'd have interesting chemistry on screen. I guess we're kind of kindred spirits in the sense that we met in a really kind of dodgy place. We connected viscerally before we connected spiritually. And she's a person I can talk to about what I do and how I do it, and she understands me and she loves me despite my flaws and other things. And I think I have a good handle on what romance is and how it works. So I find myself giving him love advice through the story after watching his interaction with Agent Roussel, and I'm trying to help him get his girl back. It's an energetic scene, so when things happen, people come together, and there's a lot more hand-to-hand than I read in the script, which works well, makes us look good, makes us look heroic, and we're always happy to do that. Guys like looking strong and looking invincible, and we have a lot of that going on here. There's a lot of male joy in terms of what we do and what we like to see.
Usual, because she's married to a hitman, and she is not an outlaw, but she's really tough. If anybody can handle my husband Darius, who's insane and very dangerous, is definitely Sonia. But she's been put in jail, not because of a crime that she committed, but because it's a way that the authorities are trying to get at Dario. My character is a small character in the movie, but it's very important because everything that happens happens because Dario that it is so in love with me that he does everything, and everything that everybody does because of him is to prove his love to her. So it's really a love story. And they have the most amazing, passionate, crazy, mad relationship. And even in the few moments where you get to see it, is insane and romantic and full of fire in every way. And you definitely get a glimpse to the fact that this woman is his match.
Trying not to laugh during takes, and I kid you not, because sometimes it's I mean, the guys, when, you know, like working with Ryan's been such a treat. You know, he's such a charming guy, and he's so down to earth, and he's so straight up, and he's hilarious on camera and off camera. But when the two of them, when Sam and Ryan, they're trying to, you know, they're fighting. They're always fighting. We said that there's only two ways we can end the scene, and this was something that, you know, we discovered early on, and was like, I made this rule that there's only two ways the scene can end with Bryce and Kincaid, and that is, one way it ends is Sam Jackson telling Michael Bryce to shut the fuck up, or the alternative is the stone cold expression of Michael Bryce and Sam Jackson laughing, going. So, because both of those are excruciatingly painful situations for Michael Bryce to be in, and I think that's probably one of the best things about working with Ryan, and what I think everyone finds so appealing about him, because, you know, he's a big guy, I mean, he's wonderfully charming and terribly good looking, and all those things aside, but the one thing he is completely vulnerable, and he goes out of his way to be the butt of all the jokes in the film. You know, he's like, well, wouldn't it be funny if he picked on me for this? You know, and there's not a lot of actors would do that, because they want to be the cool guy and the strong guy and the tough guy and the guy that doesn't need help from nobody. And, you know, I think, and it's like what we're shooting today. You know, we've got a fight situation where, you know, Ryan's just grabbing things to throw at the villain because he's like out of options. You know, it's sort of turned into a schoolyard fight now. When I grow up, I want to be like Greg Powell, because he's just a warrior, man. Like, he rolls on set with his big cigar and he's like, right, Pat, what's going to happen is we're going to send a truck into the state bank and it's going to blow up and it'll be great. You're going to love it. You want a cigar? So, no, I love him dearly. And then of course, having James involved with choreographing all the fights, which has just been a real treat. We're doing some really interesting stuff too. You know, one of the things I've really been pushing for is you know, like the last 2 days have been shooting fight scenes where it looks and feels like it's one shot, which can be, you know, you sort of break it down and essentially it's 15 shots, but it's stuck together in a way that no one sees it. You use a morph technique, and it makes it makes it a little bit more difficult on the day, because you have to be very precise on the lens placement and the staging. But once you pull it off, it's pretty spectacular when it's on screen. What's really exciting, and which is what comes off the screen, is you know, first and foremost, the chemistry between Sam and Ryan, and I think that is it's really memorable stuff. And certainly, you know, we've got all the big action, but what we do have is a lot of heart and soul. And for me, I think that's what I get most excited about, is that, you know, you've got these two guys and it's a great tone. It's a great, you know, it's a lot of fun. It's like a rolling adventure. I mean, it's a road movie. So you got two guys that hate each other's guts. They're stuck together. They've got to get from point A to point B. Everyone's trying to kill them. And on top of that, they're trying to kill each other because they hate each other. So it's really charming, and I think there's a lot of humility and vulnerability in both the characters. And I went and met with Ryan, and we discussed the project. And then as soon as I heard, you know, initially any time a project comes your way, you're like, what's the details? Who's in it? What's it about? And when I heard that it was a pairing but with Samuel Jackson and Ryan Reynolds, I was like, well, there's guaranteed chemistry there. So I was immediately interested. And then Michael Bryce's redemption plot, it's like, well, what is his problem? His problem is that he's over-analytical about everything, and he's quite controlling, and he's trying to control all the elements in his life. And, you know, as we all know, as being human beings, we all start out that way, and we quickly learn that you can't control everything in the world, and you certainly can't control the people you love or the situations that you find yourself in. So Michael Bryce's character comes from this world, this over-analytical world, where he's trying to constantly maintain this sense of control. And he's trying to be careful a lot too, and that's where Ryan comes from. And then on the other side, the flip side of that coin, the complete opposite contrast is that you've got Samuel L. Jackson's character.
업계 최고의 보디가드
Transport is in there.
환장할 의뢰인을 만나다.
Tried to kill me 28.
데드풀, 라이언 레이놀즈, 킹스맨, 사무엘 L 잭슨. 킬러의 보디가드